Welcome to Two Humans Talking, the podcast that talks about what it's really like to stay healthy in today's modern, fast paced world. I'm Tiffany Simms, your holistic wellness coach and burnout recovery expert. And today we are talking about your mental health because let's face it, it is not just your physical health on one island and your emotional health on another and your career somewhere else. Like it all has to come together because you are a whole person. And today, my dear friend Gayle Weill and I are going to talk about your mental health. And so before we hop in, Gayle, thank you for being here. Please share with the women who you are, where are you from, like what makes you you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Tiffany. It's such a pleasure to be speaking with you today. Yes, I'm a licensed psychotherapist. I work with women in the states of Florida, New York, and Connecticut via telehealth for private one-on-one therapy sessions.
Cool.
And I currently actually am located in Baltimore, Maryland. Um, that
I'm
was
in Southern Maryland. We are totally going to have to like have lunch.
Yes, I love it. But yes, I primarily work with those women who are experiencing symptoms of anxiety and relationship challenges. Relationship is a broad term. It can include those relationships we have with our significant others, friendships, family relationships, relationships with children, all of that.
So cool. So I'm curious from your perspective, really, what does healthy mean to you?
Healthy, okay, that's a good question. Healthy, I would say, to me, it means that I am able to function at my best. And my best is a very subjective term. So, me specifically, what does that look like? It means that I'm able to go about my day to day routine feeling good about myself and those around me and the environment that I'm in.
I think that's beautiful. And if you've been rocking with me here on Two Humans Talking for a while, you know why I think that's beautiful. But if you're new here, I really just want to point out, Gayle we talked about like, what does healthy look like for you? What does it mean to you? And Gayle didn't say anything about her pant size, the scale, or like some weird fitness metric that's arbitrary. She really talked about like her best self and taking care of herself because that's subjective sometimes day to day. And so I really do love that. Now, when we tie that into your mental health, what's like, what's the number one problem that you see like women have when it comes to their mental health? And how can she overcome that in a way where like it feels natural and she knows she's taking care of herself without just relying on, say, medications and a band aid?
Yeah, I meet with a lot of women, unfortunately, who are people pleasers, and how could they take care of themselves mentally? That's the big question. I would say, let's tap in to what it is that you want in regards to people pleasing specifically. If you can honestly tell yourself that you want to do this for someone else, then beautiful. But if you're, putting yourself out there in a way where you are being put in a situation that's, heaven forbid, dangerous or, inconvenient because you just have so many other things going on, then please recognize that you matter. You matter too, not just the people that you're trying to
Yeah.
help.
So Gail, I know that in my own personal life, when I was in that stage of people pleasing, I wouldn't have called myself a people pleaser, or maybe I
Sure.
was wearing it as a badge of honor. What are some things that I might be saying that I'm not even like cued into that are like an example of like, hey, this might be me and I might need to explore this? Like, what is she saying to herself?
Yeah, she could be saying to herself that I really need to help this person. They really need my help. They really need me to do this favor for them. That's, one idea that somebody could be thinking. Another idea is like, I really want them to like me.
Mm,
So I want to make sure that I extend myself. Another big one is I'm not selfish. Of course I'm gonna be helping this person. That's a big one that I like
oh,
to talk about. It's this I think it's a misunderstanding that if you aren't extending yourself, that you're self-centered. When really it could just be that you are an incredibly helpful person, but you're recognizing that you matter too.
yeah. I I love this. I feel like this is a really popular conversation in the world right now, especially on social media. Like, stop being a people pleaser, worry about yourself, take care of yourself. And there are people like you can be both, but you can't be both at the detriment of your own well being. Like, you can
Yeah,
give and you can serve and you can overextend yourself a little bit, but it can't be at the own detriment. Like, you still have to have time for yourself, and I think that's part of the conversation that's missing. We're in this like all in, all out discussion, and I'm going to try really hard not to go down like the burnout route of like people ready to quit their jobs and tell people you don't want to do things in boundaries. But it's like you can be both, but you got to learn how to do it in a way that's respecting yourself.
yeah,
Otherwise, it's almost like you're manipulating everyone around you because you're afraid to be yourself because they might not like you.
yeah. That does tend to come up sometimes.
That
Yeah,
ruffles
it's a
some
fine
feathers when I
balance.
say that.
Mm. It's a balance, between overextending yourself too much, but not overextending yourself too much and being helpful. There's a balance, I think, and navigating that could be hard.
So, to the woman who is in that, like, I really do want to be helpful. I enjoy helping other people, but I hear you in saying I can't sacrifice myself at the cost of everyone else. What tips or first steps do you have for her that she can go start practicing now?
Yeah, I think the best thing is to take that pause. Meaning, like, let's say your best friend, I don't know, needs you to pick up her son from volleyball because she's running late from an appointment. You want to help out your friend, you know? This is just like the first example that pops into my head. You want to be able to help out your friend for sure. But what if your own child needs to be picked up from somewhere, or you had plans for your anniversary with your spouse, or um, you have you just work the whole full day and you have a ton more work before the night ends that's due at 8 a.m. the next morning. You want to be able to help your friend, but to what extent? It could be that you are able to pick up the friend's son. Maybe you could do it, but I want you to be able to check in with yourself. Ask yourself honestly, is this something that will really um, be hard on my mental health or my
Yeah.
physical health? If it's, if you're trying to finish up something that's due at 8 a.m., you need your sleep, you know?
Yeah, the first thing that just came to mind when you said that, because I had to practice this, I had to learn how to express myself and share like what I really could and couldn't do. And so, like, for this example, the thing that came to mind, if I'm thinking about like a script that someone could use, is hey, I really have a full plate this afternoon. I really can't help you. However, if after like if you really can't figure something else out, call me back. I'll see what I can do. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
a really fair thing of saying, "Hey, I hear you need help. I really can't." But in the back of your head, you're like, if I, you're already mapping it out, right? You're like, if I move this and call so and so, like I could be helpful, and just letting her know, like, hey, it really doesn't work for me. I don't know how, I'm not, it's not ideal right now. And I still love you. So if you have no other options, come back to me. We'll figure something out. And if your friend has problems with that, like that's not for to be ugly, but that is a them problem. If you're sharing what you can accommodate and someone doesn't like it, that's not your suitcase to pick up and carry and take home with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
You know?
And
What
you sorry, go ahead,
no,
Tiffany.
you go ahead.
No, I think that's so true. Of course you want to be able to help your friend, but at the same time, I think you said it right. I mean, it's not if it's a concern about them not being able to find somebody else to help them and they're really in a bind, you could do your very best to try to brainstorm how to make it possible if they're really, really stuck. But at the end of the day, it's up to them to figure out what to do?
Yeah. And I feel really called to share this. If you're on the other side of that conversation and you're the one who's in desperate need of help in that moment,
Sure.
if someone's sharing with you that they can't, it doesn't mean they don't love you. They love you enough to say, hey, is there anyone else that you can call today? Because I don't know how to help you. And that's love too.
They love you enough to be honest. That,
Yeah.
that means that means you could trust what they say for future, talks with them.
Yes. And like I love that part of the conversation because I think so often, especially as women, when someone we have to be so brave to ask for help. And then when we ask for help and someone says I can't or no, all of a sudden it's like I should have just done it myself and figured it out. Like why did I even bother? And it's like you have to remove the emotion from it and say like I do need community. I do need support and it's okay for me to ask and it's okay for that other person's plate to be full.
Yeah. You don't have to take it as a lack of love and care.
Right. Right.
It's empowering actually. You get to choose how you view any particular situation.
Right.
Hmm.
And so I love that and I think we need to talk about that more as women because like that dichotomy of what is going on in our lives and us feeling alone and the vulnerability of like speaking up and maybe being rejected. Like we need to
Yeah.
normalize that that is normal and safe and actually a sign of a really healthy relationship.
Oh, 100%. Because if you internalize it as this person doesn't care about me or doesn't love me, then you're going to feel some shame for having asked to begin with, right?
Yes.
Um, so it's really how you view it. This person loves me enough to tell me the truth, and they want to help, but they just really can't right now. But they'll try to make it work if they absolutely, like, if you absolutely have no choice. If you choose to view it like that, you won't feel down on yourself and it won't inhibit you from asking in the future.
Right.
That's powerful.
So good. So good.
Hmm.
Also, I just have to say, your hair is gorgeous. I'm loving the way it's like framing your face right now
Oh,
and like the
Tiffany,
way
that's so
it's really,
sweet. Thank you.
you're welcome. So I'm curious, Gail, like as we're wrapping up for today, is there anything that's left on your heart that you want to share with the woman that's listening and sitting in our conversation right now? What do you want her to know?
Yeah. I would say, don't take things personally. There are those people out there that are mean spirited, maybe, and they do get a kick out of hurting people. But I would say the majority of people really mean well. We don't have to take things so personally sometimes. It might be our natural instinct is to feel slighted, going off of what we were talking about, Tiffany, with feeling rejected. It could either bring you a feeling of shame or you could assume well of that other person and assume that they did not mean that to hurt you personally.
That
That's
is
my
so
take.
good. And I know I just said as we wrap things up, but I really want to ask you this question.
Yeah.
Sometimes as women, we like to self blame. It's our fault a relationship isn't working out. We're too sensitive. We're too dramatic. How can a woman tell if it's one of those times of like grace and compassion for the people in her life versus maybe it's time to evaluate that relationship and start creating distance?
Oh, I love that. I love that. I think what's important is to be able to take the pause and really give it thought and look at it as objectively as you can, given it's you and it's hard to be objective with ourselves, right? I would say that in a situation where you're doubting yourself, was I in the wrong? Or am I in the right with how I responded and what I said? Know your truth and allow yourself the time to pause and think about it.
Yeah.
Don't let yourself you know, be gaslit. Don't let yourself be manipulated into thinking that it's your fault. Sometimes it might be. As human beings, we make mistakes. It happens, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that is the case.
So true. Something that I have started doing in probably in the last 5 years that has made such a huge difference, Gail, and I don't know if you do this in your life,
Sure.
but when I'm in those moments of like, is this a Tiffany thing where I need to grow from this moment? Or is this a like the end of this relationship is coming and I need to evaluate some things?
Sure.
I always go back to like, what are my core characteristics of like who I want to be and who I want to be surrounded by? And then I start asking myself, like, does this person have these characteristics?
Mm.
And if not, maybe it is time for me to start distancing. But if this person is like a wholesome person that I look up to and I value and has like these really great human characteristics that I admire, what in this conversation or this disagreement or in this moment do I need to learn from? Because right now it is a me problem
Yeah.
and I need to
Wow.
grow.
I love that so much. It's almost like a barometer for yourself. Meaning, like
Yeah.
if you're yeah, if you're questioning these things, you have a template to go off of. I love that, Tiffany. I do have something similar. Sometimes you argue with friends, maybe, and you're thinking, was this like something that we can work, or is this something that it's a deal breaker, and I need to keep my distance to protect my mental health. So it's good to be able to then, think about what are my values? Is this person a healthy person in general, or was this just something said that needs to be thought about a little bit more? Is it somebody that I can talk with and feel like they can hear me? Will they listen? Are they, you know, able to be empathetic? If you're not putting them on the defensive, all the things to ask yourself.
Oh, so good. I'm so
Yeah.
glad I asked that last question because I was like, that part of this was gold. And so, Gail, how do we connect with you outside of this episode?
Yeah, the best place to connect with me, I would say, is my website. That's my first name Gayle, Gayle, last name Weill, WEILL, LCSW, as in licensed clinical social worker.com. I just said
Beautiful.
a mouthful there.
Beautiful. If you are tired of your therapist just smiling and nodding at you, and you want someone to actually hear and see you as the woman that you are, go visit Gail, connect with her, have a conversation. She is such a beautiful soul. And with that, that's Two Humans Talking. Bye.
Thank you, Tiff.